Okay, so let's get started with the session 3 of our attaché sprint. So it is the financial masterclass, and my name is Ritishka Dawson. I am a learning and development consultant at the Sydney head office. I moved here from New Zealand 1 year ago, so don't mind my accent. It's a little bit weird, but you'll get used to it, hopefully. Okay. So today's session, we will be reviewing the general ledger options and your GST BAS options as well. And then we'll go through the best process for your GL posting and also updating and doing your BAS. And then also learn how you can reconcile your general ledger with all the sub-ledgers in attaché. So we'll start by going through the options. Now, feel free to stop me or put your hand up if you have any questions or if I'm going too fast. Those of you who are streaming online, just feel free to type in your questions in the chat box, and we'll try to answer them during the session, or we'll get back to you after the session. So the first thing we'll go through is looking at the general ledger options. Oh. I'm using this, that's okay. We're going to go through the GL options under Setups, General Ledger Options. So there's just one option screen for your GL. It is just this one here, and we'll talk about a couple of the important fields on this screen. So the first one is the number of periods option. So in attaché, you can choose up to 13 periods if you want. Most people will use 12, which is just a calendar month, so 1 period for each month. You can choose to report just quarterly, so you can put 4 in there, and then you just post quarterly. You can have 13, which will be every 4 weeks. So it's really up to your business how you'd like to process in the GL. Once you've entered the number of periods, you can come in and you can put in the period headings for each month. So again, depending on how your financial year runs, you fill in your financial year start date, and then you need to come in and type in the period name for each of those headings. So you don't need to put in the months. You could say period 1, period 2, period 3, and then also you put in the number of days in that period. What you can also do here is you can see it is picking up the current period, and it just says October, and as you can see, it's grayed out, that number 4, and I can't change that. Now, that is doing that because I have this auto period option ticked. What that means is, because I've said auto period, the general ledger will automatically look at what the system date is in attaché. So down here, you've got the date, if I click on that, and it's set to October the 20th, so it's picking up from the computer, and it knows, okay, we're in the October period. If I didn't have auto period ticked, I need to come in every month and manually change what the default period is. So when you're posting to the GL, it will pick up that period. Now, when you're posting, we'll talk about that a little bit later, you can manually update the general ledger period, but this is essentially the default for what period are you currently processing in. So it's quite useful to use the auto period, so you don't need to remember to come in and update the period. It will automatically pick up when I go into November. It will change to November for me. The next one we'll talk about here is just your default bank account. So this is just the general ledger bank account that you've got set up, just the default one that you can set up. So when you enter receipts and payments, it will default to that one. And then you've got your code print format. So in attaché, you give all your general ledger accounts, you can put letters in your account code, you can put numbers, and you just type the whole code into the system. Now, for example, when you print out reports, you may want that code to display slightly differently. So for example, I might have in the first 2 digits of my code might be my branch. So I might want to put a dash in between that branch, and then put in the account code, and then the last 3 digits of my code might be like the sub-account code. So I can put dashes in between, I can put full stops, I can put slashes, etc. You can format the code however you like. So when you print a financial report, it will show up with the little dashes in between, or any report you print from the general ledger. So when you still look up the GL code, you type it in normally without putting in the dashes, but it will format it when you print it in that format. You can also choose whether you want to confirm if you're entering new GL codes, if you want a warning message that, oh, you're entering a new code in, are you sure? Whether you want a message box to appear for that or not. Then you've got your tax details, so whether your tax is inclusive or exclusive, the tax rate that's used, and then what your tax paid account is and your tax received account. Now, these two accounts you will use later on to reconcile with your BAS report, so the figures that display in those accounts should match your BAS. So we'll talk about that as well when we come to reconciliations. Now, in the middle here, you've got some password level options. So these are really important to review. So whether who gets the ability to enter transactions or change the period that they're entering transactions into. So whether you want people to always only post into the October period, or whether you want people to post back, maybe give them the permission to change the period and post into July or August or even to a future period. Whether you want them to have the ability to modify batches, so this one's really important. So you might not want to give everyone the ability to modify batches. And then also whether they can go in and change a bank reconciliation after you've kind of closed it off. You might not want everyone to go and change that. Then down here, you've got the different account types. So you've got posting accounts, which are just general, your sales and your expense accounts. You've got your control accounts, which are really important, and the system uses those accounts. So like your trade debtors, your trade creditors, and you don't want people to enter journals directly into those accounts. It will throw the reconciliation with your subledgers off if you do post journals in there. So you might not want to give everyone access to post into a control account. Same with the bank and heading, etc., all your other accounts. So who can post into those various accounts or change them? Then again, you've got your notes and also whether you want to enable the F11 output wizard. So you can print that little wizard from your GL as well straight away, so you can get a quick report from your general ledger when you go to GL. And if I just go inquire, and if I bring up my list of my accounts, I can come in and I can click output, and then again I can come in and I can choose. So say for example, I might want to come in and I just want to print all my account types, all my total account types. So those are ones that are 0, so that's the code name. I can come in and I can use the shift key or the control key, and I'm just going to select those ones that have 0, and then I can choose selection and click next and finish, and that will only print out those codes I have selected. So you don't have to print everything if you don't want to. Again, I can also use the control key to come in and just select different accounts, and it'll only print those 5 that I've selected in the report. So again, you don't need, if you've got thousands of accounts and you don't want everything, you can come in and filter it from here as well. Okay, let's go back to the options. And then once you've set all those options up, there is one other function you can do from the screen. You've got the ability to come in and you can lock all your periods. Now, what this does is, so once I click lock all, so essentially I've locked all the general ledger periods. That means no one can post anything into those periods. So ideally, if you have closed off a period, you might want to come in and lock it, and then the current period you are in, you might want to come in and unlock just that one period. So that kind of forces people to not be able to post into September or November. You need to come in and unlock that specific period before you go in and post anything into those prior or future periods. So again, you can have a look and see whether that's whether it's will benefit your company doing that. If you do have people accidentally posting to the wrong account or the wrong month, if you don't have the auto period enabled, you might be sitting in October, you're still trying to post your September transactions, and if it goes into October. So whether you want to come in and lock the specific periods to stop those kind of issues happening. Or the people who have access to general ledger, you've already given them, it's only your financial people or only certain people, then you might want them to have the ability to post into any period. So then you might keep everything unlocked, or maybe just lock the future ones, but let people post into prior ones. Okay, any questions about any of the general ledger options and the locking or anything? No? Pretty straightforward? Okay, cool. So now we're just going to move into the GST or BAS options. So we're going to first have a look at the tax options, but what I'm just going to quickly do, because it is dropped down, I'm just going to jump back into this company so that I have the menus that are dropped down because I am comfortable with using those. So we're going to go through the setup options first and go through the tax options. So this is the first tax options, which are found under the setups under the main company options. And here you come in and you set up all the different tax amounts that you use. So you can specify the number of tax rates you want to enable, and then come in, put in a label, and then enter in the percentage rates. Now, once you've set that up, you then come back into your company options, and then, okay, this mouse is being weird. And then we go down to our BAS and GST allocation. So this is where you come in and set this up. Now, hopefully most of you would have already set this up at the start of when you started using the system, so you won't really need to come in and adjust this once it's already been set up, but it's just a good idea to know what's available here. So here you've got your accounting methods, so whether you use accrual or cash. Now, those of you who are using the cash method, you just need to remember before you do your updating of your BAS that you need to make sure you've allocated all your receipts and your payments against invoices, otherwise they won't get picked up. So if they're sitting there unallocated, you need to make sure you go and do those allocations. That's just those of you who are doing the cash method. Then you've got the reporting method, so whether you report monthly or quarterly, and then the lodgement method. So you can do electronic upload, or you might just want to do it manually, where you just key the figures in on the ATO's website. Then down here, you just come in and you allocate the specific fields that need to be entered. So the GST, it needs to pick up everything that's entered in the sales. Anything that's, all the export sale accounts need to go in the export, and you essentially tell the system what to look for against all the transactions. Now, the one thing you will probably be using when you come in to do your BAS is this lock period. So this is separate from the general ledger locking. This is a specific GST or BAS locking mechanism, where once you've posted all your transactions to that period, you can come in and lock it so that no one goes in, and you've lodged it with the ATO. You don't want anyone changing that period. So you can come in and you can lock that period so no one accidentally updates the next month's transactions into an old period. So this one's really important, and it's a good idea to come in and lock the periods. So then you can come down to the period you're currently in, and you can unlock it so then you can remember that you need to post into that particular period. Okay. So once you've set up all those options in the GL and in the BAS, you can then start processing transactions into those two systems. So with the GL, we'll start with the GL transactions. I am going to be using the financial controller workflow. And so as you can see, each module has a workflow up the top. So, and then there's various tasks within the workflow. So I've got GL postings, and I've got my BAS, and then reports. So we're going to start with the GL postings. Now, what we'll do first is we're going to print our other modules posting report. So this is where you come in and you have a look at all the transactions that you've entered in customers, products, suppliers, if you're using payroll, and these have not been updated to the general ledger yet. So they're just sitting there waiting to be posted. So you can come in and choose the module. You can come in and choose unconsolidated. Now, some of you might choose to post to the general ledger consolidated. Now, there's different options you can choose when consolidating. You might consolidate by day. You might consolidate all the transactions that are going into control accounts to just show up as one amount. So you might want your trade debtors to just have one transaction for all the transactions you've entered this month. Or you might be posting to the GL unconsolidated, so you've got a full transaction list. Now, depending how you choose to consolidate, we'd always still recommend that you print your postings report unconsolidated, just so that you've got a full list of those transactions that are going into each specific account that you're going to post to. Sometimes this report will be really, really large, so if you're only posting once a month and you've processed thousands of transactions, it's going to be a very big report. So save it as a PDF and store it somewhere. So that way you're not printing thousands of pieces of paper. And then it's a good idea, so you've got that audit trail. So if you are posting and there's a $10,000 amount for September going into trade creditors and you want to see what transactions make up that $10,000 amount, you can go back to your postings report for September, and because you printed it unconsolidated, you can see exactly what transactions have gone and updated that figure. You can come in and put a date range. It's a good idea to just leave the date range blank so you can see what transactions have yet to update the GL, and we'll just go print and have a look. So again, here I can come in and I can see, okay, for this particular sales account, we've got these various transactions that are going to be updated. So you might choose to, so a good idea to save that as a PDF, and then if you want, you can come in and you can view a consolidated amount as well. So it will show you which ones you've chosen to consolidate, and it will come in. So my trade debtors, it will show me just one amount rather than all the transactions. So print it out for each module you're posting from as well. If you are recording all your purchase orders, if you've got that enabled in the options, make sure you print it out for the purchasing as well as suppliers. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to go and post from our other modules. We'll come back to the reconciliation at the end, actually. Now, the posting. So this is where you come in and you post to the general ledger now. So you come in and you can specify your period number. So here I can come in and I can change it to be a different period, but because I've set it to auto period, it's picking up that it's October for me. And I can see it's unlocked, so I can post into this account. So for example, if I'd locked everything and I came to period 2, it would say it was locked, and I know I can't post back into August. If you are posting from another company, so for example, if you had payroll and your payroll data was separate, you can come in and you can say from another company, and I would come in and I would select my payroll data, for example, and it would pick up my payroll transactions for me. Okay, untick that. Nope, cancel. Ooh, go back. Okay, and then you come in and select your modules to post from. So for example, I'll pick customers. And then what you can do now, if you are date-based, you would come down here and you would tick this adjust customer selections and choose date range, and it would only pick up those October transactions and post them into October. Then you can enter in a batch description. Now, a good idea is to go, for example, customer, and if I use an @ symbol, what it will do, it will automatically pick up the period that I'm posting into, and I can say as at, and if I use the tilde, which is the little sideways squiggly, which is just below the escape key, what it will do is it will pick up the system date that I've got in Attaché. So as soon as I tab off the screen, it's going to immediately pick up October as at 20th. So that's just a little shortcut. Now what I can do is I can save that. So that means each month when I come into post, it's automatically going to pick up December and then whatever the date is, or November and whatever the date is. So you can come in and you can set that up. So if I click back in here, I can see it just says @ and then a little squiggly. So you don't need to come in and remember to type in October, put in the date, and it will do that automatically for you. Okay. So now I can come in and I can post my October transactions. It's important to always ensure you've got this option ticked, which is delete your posted transactions, just to make sure that no one comes in. So say I post my October transactions and I forget to untick that, they will still be sitting there waiting to be posted again. And then my colleague might come in and post them again to October, and that will duplicate. So make sure you've always got that tick box ticked so that it will delete the transaction so you can't repost them. Sometimes there are some cases where you might not want to delete them. If you are also posting these transactions to a separate head office consolidated general ledger account, you might posted to a separate company, and then maybe you might choose to not delete them, but just make sure you do always see that's ticked to yes. Then down here you can come in and you can consolidate, so you can consolidate control accounts or bank accounts, or even consolidate it by day again. So once you're ready, you can click accept, and it will go through and it will post your transactions, and then you can come in again, and then you can do it for all your other modules when you're ready. So that's how you need to post. Once you have finished posting, you can come in and you can print out a batch listing. So you can come in and you can have a look at the last batch you printed. So I can come in and I can say September suppliers, and you can have a look at that batch listing and take a printout as well, so you know what has gone into the journal ledger. Okay, so once you have updated that, we will now move on to updating your BAS. So I will move into my customer supplier BAS. Now with the BAS, when you come to update it, there's two steps. So you need to do your customer side, and then you also need to do your supplier side. So with this workflow, we're going to start with our customers, and I'm going to click on my allocation report. So here you can come in and you can see what transactions are going to be updated in the BAS. So essentially it's like your postings report, but for the BAS. So what we'll come in and do is, it's a good idea to come in and untick the current period only. And what we're going to do, we're also going to select transactions to be updated. So it's going to show you all your outstanding transactions that haven't been posted yet. So sometimes you might find that you've closed off last period, but a late invoice has arrived, you've entered that in, it should have gone in there, but you've already closed that one off and lodged it with the ATO, so you can't go back and update that one. So you need to include that, for example, September one in your current period. So that's why it's important to come in and make sure you're looking at your transactions to be updated, because if you do select current period only, there might be some transactions that are not going to be included if they got missed out from the last period. So as long as you put them into a period, then it's really good. So I will come in and say transactions to be updated. You can come in and put a date range in if you like, or just print everything. So I'll come in and click print. And here I can come in and I can see what's yet to be posted. So take a printout of this so you know what's going to be updating, it'll tell you which box, etc., and keep a record of these transactions. So you do that on the supplier side as well. So you come in and you print the BAS for the suppliers and see what transactions have yet to be updated. Then once you've done that, you come in and do the actual update. So this is where you need to come in and pick the period that you're posting into. And then again, now if I had a September transaction in there in this unposted, I can come in and untick the date range, so it'll just pick everything that's unposted. Or I can come in and say anything that's outstanding from January but up till October. So I don't want to post all the newer ones yet, or future ones which are going into the next period. I just want to pick up all the ones I've missed from the old periods and then up to the current period. So I can come in and do that, and then click update, and that will go through and post those transactions to the BAS. So once you've done the customer one, you can do the same for your suppliers when you're ready. And then you also need to enter in your salary amount. So this is using the BAS manual update. Again, select the period, and then you need to come in and fill in the boxes, so your total salary, any amount that's withheld, and your other amounts as well. Once you've done that, you can come in and you can finally print your BAS. So again, I can come in and print it for the current month, or I can come in and choose annual and it will print it out for the whole year. So I'll just choose the current month. Okay, so as you can see, I haven't done the supplier side, so I'm going to be missing some of the transactions in here. But essentially, this is the file, the report you'll use. So you'll come in, if you are lodging it manually, you'll type in the figures on the ATO based on what's in each box. Or you can come in and you can lodge it electronically and create a file. So if you just come down here and there's a summary amount. So here you can see the amounts you owe to the ATO and then the amount that the ATO owes you. And then you can come in and see if it's a payment or a refund. So because we owe the ATO more than what they owe us, we need to pay that amount, for example. Okay. And then the GST on sales and the GST on purchases, those figures is what you'll use to reconcile with your general ledger tax accounts that you've got. Now, once you have finished doing that, you might also want to print the BAS audit report. Now, this report shows you exactly what transactions have updated each of those boxes on that report. So if I come in and I print it, I can come in and I can see BAS box G1 and what transactions have been updating that amount, and then box 11, for example. And the same with your suppliers once you update that. So you come in, check the tax codes, etc., what the amounts are, and you can keep, it's a good idea to save this as a PDF. It will probably be very large as well, depending on your business. So save it as a PDF, and you can also clear out this report as it does get very large. So save it as a PDF so you've got a copy, and then you can clear it up if you find it's slowing your system and delete the postings for it. Okay, does anyone have any questions about BAS? No? Nothing? Yep.
Is there a purge thing option?
Yep, there should be a purge. Oh, so is there a purge option? Yep, so you should be able to come down here and the question was, sorry, I'll repeat that, how to actually do the purging if your audit report gets really large. So under the period end, under your customers and suppliers, come down to your supplier BAS, and then it's the very last option, the audit report purge. Again, make sure you take a backup and you've got a PDF copy of all your reports before you do it. And then you can come in and choose what you want to purge, and it will delete those updated transactions. So you can still print out your BAS for each month. It's just the audit report, which shows you which transactions make up each period, because it can get very large. So you might just want to do it yearly. So you can go into a backup and have a look at those transactions, but they won't be stored in your live one. Okay, any other questions? Nope. Okay, we're going to move on to reconciliation. So with the reconciliation, we're going to jump back to my GL postings. And the easiest way is, so there are accounts that you need to use. So again, so your GST on GST on sales needs to look at your tax collected account, and your GST on purchases, your tax that you owe account, tax that you've paid. And then your aging report, your customer's aging report is a good one to use to match with the general ledger. Those of you who are using period-based, you'll use the age trial balance for your suppliers and customers, and the date-based would be using the aging report. Now, you can go through and print out those reports and match it with the trial balance, but we find it's easier if you use Clearview. There is a reconciliation gadget under the financial controller here, and on the home page, you have this gadget here called reconciliation. So essentially what it does is the information that's showed on this side, this hand of the screen, it is picking up from your GL. And the stuff on that end is picking up from your subledgers. So as you can see here, I've got my account codes and which accounts it is picking up the amounts from. And then here I've got my reports. Now, the really good thing about this is it also picks up your unposted amounts. So if you've been entering transactions and invoices, etc., and you haven't posted to the GL yet, it picks up what that unposted amount is, adds it to your posted amount that's already in your GL, and then it looks at what your trial balance or your aging report is, and it tells you if there's a variance or not. So you can, without having to post, you can still see if everything is reconciling. So you can come in every day, have a look, make sure nothing's in red. So as you can see, the tax collected there's a variance of $446.50. So I can immediately go and find what transaction has been posted. Has someone done a journal into that account? Has someone done something with an invoice and it hasn't gone to the right GST account? And I can quickly find out what's causing that variance. So maybe yesterday it was fine and it wasn't red, but I come in today and it is. So that means I only need to look at the transactions that have been entered today. And it just makes my job quicker because I don't need to go through every month as well. You can also come in and print the reports, but the little icons, there we go, there'll be an icon. So I can immediately print the report from here and I can see, okay, can I have a look at the report from here? Without having to go look for the actual report. Now, I can also click on the account code and it will take me to that account. Now, if you have multiple trade debtors accounts, so you might have 2 trade debtors accounts that you're using, you can also, if I right-click and go to options, you can come in here and you can add various ones. So for example, if my other, I just click a plus, and say my other trade debtors account was for 200, for example, that's my stock on hand. Let's just go 101, for example. Oh, yeah. So you can use the find option to look for what the other trade debtors account is, and it will take the balance of those 2 accounts and add them together and display that amount in there for you. So that's those of you that do have multiple, if you've got multiple stock on hand accounts mostly, so some people might have more than one stock. If you don't have a total stock account, you can just come in and add those stock accounts to reconcile with your product status report. And so you can come in here every day. What you can also do is you can lock a period. So once I've reconciled these, what I can do is I can come in and I can lock my trade debtors. I don't want anyone else posting anything into my trade debtors account. It's reconciled, I need to go print out my reports, and I don't want anyone to come in and post transactions into there yet. So you can come in and lock specific period accounts as well, once you've reconciled them. And then once you want to let people post again, you can come in and you can unlock that particular module. Okay.
So is that only on the Clearview? Is that an add-on?
If you're on Attache BI, you'll have Clearview, but
It's only on BL?
yeah. If you've got accounts, you'll have you can get Clearview as well. Yeah. So it's a dashboard. Yep.
The question was.
Oh yes.
I can't talk into that now, can I?
No.
The question was, if you, what's Clearview available to if you are not on the complete system. That's why I was talking about the flight plan this morning and being on the complete system. So that's where the flight plan is really, really important. Because Attache was traditionally modules, sold modular, we do have clients that don't have the complete system. So to be able to move on to BI, what we want everybody to do, BI is really a free upgrade. There may be a financial investment that you need to make to move to the complete system, but that includes all of this. So what we want everybody to do is be on that complete system and utilising that functionality first, and then we can move you to BI. The BI upgrade is nothing. So Clearview is part of that. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Marianne. Do we have any other questions? We've kind of finished a little bit earlier, so we've got a bit of free time if anyone has. Yep, or Marianne's can fill in with some information. Okay, I'm just going to give her the microphone 1 second.
Sorry, going back to the
Yeah.
BAS, with the nominal journal, on there it has a click and it says that there's GST, whether it's GST, whether it includes GST or whether it excludes GST. But when I do the BAS, I can't see that those journals actually show up anywhere. We went through the purchase ledger and the sales ledger, but there's no actual nominal ledger for the journal. So where do they come up? I find it quite difficult to reconcile those.
No.
So the question,
Sorry, quite a
yeah,
question.
it is a long question, and I won't repeat the question. If I answer it, I think those people online will understand what the question is. There is no update from the general ledger to the BAS. Okay, so the update to the GL is only done through those sub-ledgers. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Now that is something that is on our wish list. How far up or down it is, I couldn't tell you. I'm out of development, but it is there. So that's another reason why I always recommend to people go through your sub-ledgers. So that's why services and all those sorts of things really should be in your sub-ledgers to ensure that everything is up in your BAS. Now what you can do, obviously, is you could print out your GST paid and your GST received, okay, out of the general ledger for those months, yeah, and do a reconciliation if you wanted to that way as well, yeah, okay. So I hope that answered sort of a long question for those guys that are online. It is a little bit hard being online, you know, with these guys online, because normally I would interact a lot more. I'd jump up a little bit more, but we can't do that sort of stuff. So, but because we were talking about the financial masterclass, and I do actually go through this after lunch, but I've got other things that I can show you. So the one thing I wanted to show you now to fill in is one of the questions that we get with the financials is when we print out the financials, the P&L and the balance sheet. It's a very common question for clients to say, can I please have the account code when it prints on the P&L balance sheet? So at the moment you print your P&L and you don't have the account code, all you have is last year's, generally the description, right? So if you are using, we have within the reporting system within Attaché, if I go to reports, general ledger, and now I have to use the young people's version of the menus. Okay, so please all bear with me. If we go to reports, financial, if I come down to custom financial reports, you will see here that we have the budget listing of variance, the actuals, the comparisons, and the P&L, right? So that's under custom. But you also have those under, if we go back to reports, general ledger, financial, you've got your standard, okay? So under the standard financial reports, you will have those as well. And hopefully that's where you're all printing your P&L balance sheet, unless you live in the Cook Islands, because over there they tend to still print the old one, the traditional one, okay? It's a lot, these ones are a lot neater. So if you have the standard, you will also have the customised, because it comes standard with the system. So you can go into customised financial reports. You can actually, if you have a look at the P&L, that one there will be the same. And if I page down, it starts with the last year balance, right? So what I want to be able to do is I want to put an account code in before the description. So all I need to do is go to setups, general ledger, financial reporter, setup and print. Now what you may need to do when you get back to the office, if you go into reports, general ledger, financial reporter, and you go into custom reports and they're not there, you don't have anything, they're blank, you will need to come into setups, general ledger, financial reporter, and import, okay? So you can import the standard ones, so you can come into import, and you'll come in here and you'll choose the company, it'll come up with your username, and you can put in supervisor here or sample, and it'll then go and pick up the reports from that company under that user. Okay, so this is why I don't like that menu, because now I have to go back, setups, general ledger, financial reporter, and we go to setup and print. So in here now, I can either start a whole new report, or I can pick up an existing report. So if I pick up an existing and I click here, you'll see now I've got my P&L balance sheet. So if I pick that up, if I page down, here is where you set up all the column information. So at the moment we've got last year, then we've got account description. So I'm going to click on account description, and if you look at your function keys down the bottom, I have one here, F7 insert. So if I click the insert button, it drops down for me. Very simple. Now if I go and click on that magnifying glass, I can pick up the account code. Okay? So you can see all the other fields that are available to you if you were going into, to do a custom report. I would always pick up an existing one first and muck around, because I'll show you why I'd pick up an existing one, because you can't muck it up really. Okay? So I'm going to choose the account code, and I'm just going to click OK. So now I've got the account code, and let's say it's 10 characters long, I don't know. And now we're going to hit save. So when I hit save, it says save as. So I don't want to save it as my original one, because I want to keep that report there just in case. So I'm going to come to the end, and I'm just going to add in the word code. Okay? And now we're just going to accept it. So now if I escape out of there and we go to reports, general ledger, financial, custom financial, and I have a drop down, now I have the one with code. So if I click that report and I just go print, you'll see now it's got the code in it with the dashes and things that Ritishka actually put in the GL options. So that's how easy it is. Then you've got both. You've got one with the code and one without. Okay? Everybody, I bet you no one's got one. Has anyone got one of those reports? One? Oh, okay, there's a couple of you with the code in it. Fantastic. All right, awesome. Okay, so that's that one. The other thing I will talk to you about, because it's financial reporting, just before we finish up, we've got 5 minutes. And again, I talk to you about this with caution. Okay, it's on the air of caution, and it's terrible because I'm being videoed as well, so I'm on file as saying this. You can actually, one of the questions that we get, let me preface it a little bit first, we get, I've entered in a supplier invoice. The invoice is all correct, Marianne. The only thing I did was I coded it to the wrong GL code. And I always say to my clients, or did say, you should always go and do a credit note. You need the audit, do a credit, and then redo the invoice and code it to the right GL code. Yeah. Well, obviously, there's a lot of work involved in that when all you want to do is change that one code. So I'm going to show you how to change that code. Okay. So that's why I say I'm erring on caution. Okay. It is not for everybody. The consultants are doing this. Oh my God, she's not going to. Okay. All right. So it is, as I say, you just have to be very careful when you're doing this. So if I go into transactions, general ledger, and I look at other modules, I'll just pick up one of those, and we'll do journals from other modules. No, that's not what I want to do. Sorry, transactions. See, it's the menu. I have to change the menu. Transactions, journals, other module, journals from other modules. That's it. So I'm just going to pick up September, period 11, and I'm going to accept it. So I've already posted from my September suppliers. I've posted it into the general ledger. There's my batch description, and I'm just going to now accept that, F9. And you have a function key here, F4 list. So if I choose F4 list, it now lists me the actual GL codes. That's the whole batch that we posted from the general ledger. I've got my GL codes. If we were using costing with the cost centres, it would also bring the cost centres in here. So in actual fact, I could change the cost centre or the GL code. So I can come in here now and click on any one of those and accept it. And I can come in here now and I can actually change that code because it wasn't for administration, it was for sales. So I can change the code. Now, can you do that even if you've closed the month? Yes. Okay, now, the thing here is, yes, you can change it. And yes, you can see you can go and change the amount of money if you wanted to really as well, but then you're going to have a journal that's out of balance. This is why I'm telling you all, even 200 of you around Australia, please do not do it unless you know, it's the final thing. You've got no, you can't resort to anything else, which really you should be doing a credit note and then redoing the invoice. A lot of people who have general ledger and who actually get to look at the other module postings and things like that wouldn't have menu access to this anyway. Okay, so they wouldn't be able to do that. So the other thing that I'm going to say to you is, I can't say it because I'm being taped. People forget things. And when you're a woman of my age, things happen and you forget even more. Okay? So you need to make sure that you document this. Please don't think, I'll remember. It's such an unusual thing, I'll remember it. Okay? That's why we have the narration key. Okay, so straight away you click the narration key, type a life story about what you just did and why you did it. Okay, because what will happen is if the accounts have been audited and closed, or not audited necessarily, but have been closed off, and the reports have gone to the board, and then all of a sudden 2 months later the accountant goes in and reprints those reports and gives them to the board, and they go, hang on a minute, this looks a bit different, the figures are different, why? Okay, so from an audit perspective, you have to say why you've done that. So use that. That's why the narration key's there. The narration key's there for lots of other things as well. When you're entering in journals or receipts, payments, you can use that narration key to make sure that you update whatever you're changing or whatever you're adding. Okay? So that's another little tip for you. Okay, on that note, it's 1:15. So I'm sure everybody's eager to get something to eat. I know I am. Missed breakfast this morning. So lunch is served downstairs, and we will be back up in this room if you're doing the last 2 sessions on accounts at Oh, no, thank you very much. We all need, straight after lunch, we all need to go back to the other room, okay, up to session 1, session A, for Rodney and Opmetrics. This is an amazing tool that integrates into Attaché. Now please, we are not selling you anything. I know you probably find that very hard to believe, but we're not. I say to people, it's like my daughter. Whenever I go to tell her things and she goes, Mum, I go, it's education and it's free. And education, knowledge is power. So all I'm saying to you is go and have a look. May not be for your organisation now, but you never know when you may need it. Okay? It's an education piece. So please, it's only 15 minutes. It'll be worth your while. Okay, thank you. We'll have lunch downstairs and we'll see you back up there at 2:15.